Professor Beck here with the next video for our Batiquitos Lagoon virtual field trip. In this video, we'll be discussing the Batiquitos Lagoon Enhancement Project.
This video builds on the previous video called Batiquitos Lagoon, the past 150 years. So if you haven't seen that yet, please pause this and go watch that video first. The video link is available in the lab as well as in the details below this video. Let's get started. California Proposition 20 was on the 1972 ballot and passed, creating the California Coastal Commission and authorizing the state of California to regulate development within a portion of the coastal zone and to provide for conservation plans. In 1976, the passage of the California Coastal Act set the wheels in motion for the preservation and restoration of California coastal wetlands. For all the reasons covered in the previous video, Batiquitos Lagoon was in poor environmental condition by the 1970s and 80s, and under the new initiatives, Batiquitos Lagoon was designated as a sensitive habitat. Recognizing that intervention was required to stop further deterioration of Batiquitos Lagoon, an agreement was signed by the Port of Los Angeles, the City of Carlsbad, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the National Marine Fisheries Service, the California Department of Fish and Game, and the State Lands Commission in order to restore Batiquitos Lagoon. Under this arrangement, the Port of Los Angeles agreed to fund the restoration of Batiquitos Lagoon to the tune of $57 million as mitigation or compensation for harmful biological impacts created by the expansion of the San Pedro Harbor. This project became known as the Batiquitos Lagoon Enhancement Project, abbreviated to the BLEP, and it took over 3 years to complete between March of 1994 and July of 1997. This extensive system-wide habitat rehabilitation project is the only one of its kind on the west coast of North America. This photo shows the conditions of Batiquitos Lagoon prior to restoration, looking very different from today. The Batiquitos Lagoon Enhancement Project had three main goals. 1. To restore tidal flushing, 2. To enhance wildlife habitat, and 3. To mitigate bird habitats. In terms of the first goal of restoring tidal flushing, recall that the lagoon had been partially cut off for the ocean for quite a while. In the upper aerial photo taken in 1928, you can see that a salt flat occupied the vast majority of the lagoon, which continued to be a dominant habitat type up until as late as 1980. The bottom photo shows today's conditions. Open water, mudflats, and salt marshes are now the dominant habitat types at Batiquitos Lagoon. This figure further shows the dramatic difference in habitat type distribution before and after the Batiquitos Lagoon Enhancement Project. In the upper diagram, you can see the historical distribution of habitat types, largely salt flats with smaller amounts of salt marshes and freshwater brackish wetlands. Compared to today, all of this darker blue color is open water and mudflat environments that allow for tidal flushing. In order to restore tidal flushing, extensive dredging had to be conducted to open the channel from the lagoon to the ocean. This excess sediment was removed from the lagoon and placed on the adjacent coastal beaches to widen them. In this image, you can see the current conditions in the channel that runs below Pacific Coast Highway, connecting Batiquitos Lagoon to the ocean. In order to help prevent sedimentation from immediately clogging and closing that channel, jetties were constructed. Here are some more views of the jetties at Batiquitos Lagoon. Jetties are built in pairs, perpendicular to the shore, to protect the entrances to harbors or lagoons. These are essentially rock walls that are designed to limit the amount of sediment building up in the opening. The project's second goal was to enhance wildlife habitats. Let's take a look at the data collected before, during, and after project construction for fish. You can see that the numbers of all fish species monitored were very low before tidal flushing resumed, when the lagoon was reopened to the ocean, after which numbers of all fish species types rebounded tremendously, with the exception of freshwater species. The third goal was to improve the habitats for birds. You can see from this data that conditions did improve, especially for shorebirds. Additionally, 5 major nesting areas were constructed for 2 endangered bird species, the California least tern and the western snowy plover. Here's an aerial view of where these nesting sites are located. Information on these nesting areas and data collected before and after their construction is available in the Birds of Batiquitos video clip, so if you missed that one, be sure to go back and watch it.
Thanks to the major efforts and expenses of the Batiquitos Lagoon Enhancement Project, as well as ongoing maintenance, the lagoon is the beautiful place that it is today. If you've never had the chance to visit before in person, I hope that this virtual field trip has inspired you to take a real-life trip to the lagoon someday. This is Professor Beck signing off, and I hope you've enjoyed this video.